Hey procrastinators, today I'm back with a collab with Renee over at Delaney Jane Cards, and today we are using unloved or unused products that we have sitting around in our craft room. While this video is going, I'm going to have little pop-ups telling you whether this was an unused product or whether it was unloved, meaning it hasn't been used in a while. So we're going to start off with Marabu Easy Marble Paints. I bought this quite a while on clearance at Hobby Lobby, if you didn't see the sticker there. And it's been in my craft room for a couple years, and I have never used this product. So this is the first unused product that I have that we're going to try out here. I'm going to use this for the background in my card. And this is a lot like, it may even be exactly what is used. It's a lot like hydro dipping. So I'm basically going to hydro dip the background of my card today. So I'm going to put several different colors here. And my idea was originally to have like a sky at the top and a ground at the bottom, like grass and a field or whatever. As you can see here, I got very aggressive with my swirling or marbling here. And that's why this did not turn out, which I didn't really realize at the time when I was doing it. I was just like, ooh, fun, new product. So my backgrounds did not turn out exactly how I had planned. I did a couple different ones here just so I could pick the best one out of the three. So I'm just going to show you how this works, and we're going to show you three different backgrounds. So when you get done with the marbling, here I'm trying to find a place in my craft room to put it. My craft room is an absolute disaster. So anyway, when you get done with the marbling, you want to remove the excess paint. And I'm going to do that with a rag. You can do it with a paper towel or whatever you want, but you do want to remove the excess paint. This stuff like dries on the top of the water, so when you put the paint in, you need to have your whatever you're using to dip it, or dip in it, it needs to be ready right away. So this stuff does dry. You need to, once you put the paint in, you need to be ready to do this. So this dried paint on top, it doesn't look very good on your background if you were to reuse this. It's not going to look good. I did have some tiny little specks here, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it on video, but they did show up on my next background. So if you're going to change colors a lot, I would probably suggest that you dump this water. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next one. That first one was on watercolor paper. The next two are going to be on some pearlized paper because I wasn't really sure what was going to work with this. This product can be used on metal, on wood, on paper, on all kinds of different surfaces, but I wanted to try it on a couple different cardstocks. So here, since I wasn't sure I liked the green and the yellows together, I decided to just do blue and black and see how this looked. And I really liked this one. Even though, I don't know if you're going to see it, my husband said it looked like there was a witch face off to the side. So I did clean up that water, even though I did it off screen. I'm not going to show you me cleaning the water every time. So then I decided, well, I want to try and do that sky and ground thing again. I wasn't going to let this up. So I'm going to do it again, do the blue and the black on one side and the yellow and the green. And I did use some white too. I'm going to swirl them again. And again, I did this really aggressively. And this is on some blue pearlized paper. I'm going to pull that up, and I mean, it looks okay, but again, not how I want to do this. So next time I try this, I'm going to be not so aggressive with my swirling. So this is a card that Renee sent me for my birthday. And it's super cute. I love it. And so I decided to add an extra challenge to my part of the collab. I am going to somewhat case her card that she sent me for my birthday, because the card that I'm making today, she does not know this, is going to be for her birthday, which was last week. Yes, I'm a crappy friend and haven't sent her a card for her birthday yet. So the third item that I'm using here is, oh, and the second item was the die cut for my background, by the way. That was from LDRS Creative. That did pop up on the screen earlier and I missed it. Anyway, the third item that I have not used is this stamp set, and this is from Woodware, and this is called Magical Mushrooms. So that is the third item that I have not used from my stash. And then the fourth item, and these are kind of unloved items, all the scraps that I'm going to use in paper piece, because that's what she did on my card. And that is totally her thing. Not usually my thing, but I'm going to do it because I'm going to case her card. The fourth item is an unloved item or items. I have all these scraps that I keep in this this little pocket, and they're scraps from different gel press backgrounds or alcohol ink backgrounds or just different backgrounds that I have made. And they've got all different sizes of scraps, and that's what I'm going to use to paper piece my items. She used different pattern papers from her stash, 6x6 pads or whatever. I'm going to use scraps of backgrounds that I have made. So that's my little twist on this. So this one here I stamped, and then I didn't have it adhered good enough. And when I went to stamp it again, it moved because I'm using my stamp background there to kind of help me with placement on where I need these items to be. So that moved, and so since I stamped that in archival ink, I was able to just kind of dab it with a rag with rubbing alcohol on it and just kind of smear that ink into the background because it already had black on it. It was a green and black background. So I just kind of smeared that into the background, and then I set it aside to dry, and we will come back to that later. I think. I don't know if I cut that out of the video or not, but I'll come back to that later and restamp that. So I was able to salvage that piece instead of having a piece that was double stamped, and you'd definitely be able to tell that I double stamped it. So instead I just smeared that black into the background. All right, so I've got another piece here that I'm just going to stamp, and this is going to be the stems of the mushrooms. And so we're just going to stamp that. And then I believe I'm not going to show you all the stamping. I just want to show you different ones that I had that I stamped. That was a gel piece background with acrylic paints. This one here is an alcohol ink background with on Yupo paper. So I used archival ink on that one. I think the other one I had switched to, the last one we did, I switched to VersaFine. So I'm just going to use different inks depending on what kind of backgrounds that I stamped on. And then here I shifted this one so I could get 2 pieces of this mushroom on there. So down here's all the pieces cut out and everything. So I did have to fussy cut these, which is not my favorite thing to do. So Renee, you know that I love you since I did all this fussy cutting. All right, so to make your pieces look more finished, you do want to edge them with a marker. So the ones that I did on like watercolor paper and cardstock and that kind of stuff, I used a water-based marker. And then the ones on Yupo paper, the edges didn't show up a ton, but I did want them to look a little bit more finished. So I'm going to do that with a Sharpie because the water-based marker is not going to dry on Yupo paper. So the 5th item here that's unused is these Pitt artist pens that I bought a while ago. I've seen people that work in art journals and stuff use these. So they are an India-based or India ink-based pen. And so what you can do with them, and it depends on the type of paper that you're using, I believe. So some of this worked and some of it didn't. I believe that the art journal people have, or people that work in their art journals more often, that are more experienced than I am at least, I believe they're using this on gessoed paper. So I thought that this would work since on some of these pieces that I've got acrylic paint on. So to do my shading, instead of doing it with Copic markers, because I've got so many different mediums on here and I didn't want to mess up my nibs, I'm just taking the part that I want to shade, color the alcohol or the Pitt marker on here that's got India ink on it, color it on the edge, and then just smear it with my finger. If you work quickly, this will work. The India ink is kind of like alcohol ink in a way, I guess, but you can smear it with your finger, which you wouldn't be able to do that with a Copic marker. I would think not, at least, unless you're working on like maybe Yupo. So I did decide to zoom in here so you can actually see what I'm doing. And so you're just going to see me mark this up and smear it with my finger and see how that is kind of shading this this particular mushroom stem. I'm not going to show you all of this. I'm just going to show you this one piece, and I did this to a lot of the pieces. Some of it showed up, some of it didn't. It just kind of depended on the background that I was using and how much texture and colors I already had in there. So this part here, I'm going to glue all these pieces to this white background here. And I knew that not all my pieces would line up exactly because I am not perfect and I did not cut everything perfectly. So I'm taking this black marker, and where 2 pieces are going to line up, I am just thickening the lines. That way, when I glue these pieces down, there's going to be black showing in between the 2 pieces where they don't line up perfectly, instead of white, and that will be less noticeable. So I'm just going to do that here on a few pieces so you can see. And then off screen, I did color a few things in with my Copic markers, like the beard of the gnome, some little grass pieces that I was not going to cut out. I'm not going to fussy cut out and stuff like that. I did miss his nose, but I'll get that later, a little later off screen. So we're just going to glue a few of these pieces on. Again, not going to show you all of that because this video would be really, really long if I did. It's already like 20 minutes long, so we're just going to show you a few pieces. And so this piece right here that I'm going to glue on, I forgot to get that piece with my black marker, so I am going to show you that you can do it after the fact. I just grabbed a fine tip Sharpie and filled that little piece in between that that plant, I guess, and the bottom of the mushroom stem there where they meet. So you can get that afterwards if you do make a mistake. So now everything is glued on, and on Renee's card, she had taken some Nuvo drops, and this is my 6th unloved item. Well, I'm counting them all together, so this one's just unloved. I haven't used my Nuvo drops in a while. I may not have even used this color, to be honest. But anyway, she had taken the Nuvo drops and put them on the dots of the mushroom and on the dots on the butterfly wing, and she took 2 different colors and swirled them together. So I decided I would try that. I probably should have used more contrasting colors. It didn't really show up a ton that I swirled them together, but it was still a fun technique to try. So I've got a couple different colors of my Nuvo drops here, and I decided to do that. So I do have the colors popping up on the screen for you. If you are interested in the colors, they will also be in my description box below. I also want to take this time to remind you that the link for Renee's video will be in the description box below. Be sure to check out her video. She's probably got a great card for you over there. I will also link the video for the card that she did, this particular gnome card for my birthday last year. So if you are interested in seeing that, you can watch that as well. So now that I got the Nuvo drops on there, I'm just going to give them a good whack here so they will flatten out and not be all pointy. So my 7th unloved item here is the DecoFoil flock transfer sheets. I did this in white. And I probably could have added the Xyron machine too, because I don't use that nearly as often as I should, but I have used that more than any of these items that I put on the list today. So I did run a piece of cardstock through my Xyron machine to make it all sticky, and then I am attaching the flocking to this piece of cardstock so that I can die cut a few things out of it. So I am going to use the I believe they're Happy Clouds. Let's see here. Yes, Happy Clouds from Simon Says Stamp, and a few mountaintops from Trinity Stamps, Wonky Stitched Wilderness dies. So I'm just going to use the little tops here so that they were fuzzy and textural to my card. The mountains you will see a little bit later. So these are just the tops, like the snow tops. So I'm going to take that and run that through my die cutting machine. And here is the mountains that you see here, and we're just going to attach these single mountains behind the trio of mountains there. I did do some assembly off screen, obviously, to save some time in this video. So we're just going to attach those behind, and I'm glad that I did this because the big mountain there in the middle ended up being hidden by my main image. So I'm glad that I had those extra mountains behind there to make it look more full. I'm just going to cut off the excess there. I do kind of wish that I made my mountains taller, but that's all right. So I had cut this grass piece out earlier, and I used the border die to make it match, but I didn't realize that there was actually a top and a bottom, like a directional, if I wanted my background to have a top and a bottom, if I wanted it to go a certain way. I didn't realize that those hearts on the bottom were actually directional. So I decided, and that was my last scrap of that green foiled cardstock. So I decided to take one of my other backgrounds that we made with that hydro dipping, marbling, whatever you want to call it, and the part that I wanted to use was actually going the right direction. So I took a piece of that, cut that off with the grass dye there, and now I'm going to ink blend it with green to make it look more like grass. And so we're just going to ink blend some Mowed Lawn on there. I believe I tried some Twisted Stitch on, but obviously since I already put the Mowed Lawn on there, that really didn't show up very well. I should have done it the other way around. And then we're also going to throw some Rustic Wilderness on there too, I believe. Now this hydro dipping stuff, it kind of gives it a weird, because this is on that watercolor paper, so it kind of gives it a weird, almost like a weird coating. It's almost like plasticky, I want to say. So I was worried about this, like the ink sitting on top of it. So when I get done here, I'm going to wipe off the excess ink. Because one, I don't want me to touch the ink and get it all over my background that I don't want the green on. And two, I just was worried about it drying. I think it would have dried, but I didn't want inky fingers all over the place. All right, so I did coat that in the back, or attach foam tape to the back of that piece. And now I'm just going to attach it to the bottom, make sure everything's lined up. The easiest way I find to do that is to stand my card base up on my glass mat and then just kind of line my fingers to the sides and make sure everything kind of lines up nicely. And then I do have foam tape on the back of my mushroom and gnome piece here. But I wanted to attach my mountains where I wanted them in the background first to make sure that I got that exactly where I wanted it. And then we're going to apply glue to the back of all of that. I feel like since I live in a higher humidity area that I like to add glue to the back of my foam tape just in case. Plus, if I don't sit it down exactly where I want it, the glue kind of gives me a little bit of wiggle room as well. Plus the mountains needed glue on the back of them too, because they don't have anything on the back. So we're just going to add a little bit of glue to the back of all of this, and then I'm going to shimmy it down underneath the grass. I didn't put any foam tape right there at the top of that grass. It's all below the stitched part. So that way I could just shimmy it underneath there and it could look like the gnome is sitting in the grass, or I guess he's standing in the grass. So I did cut out those happy clouds, like I said earlier, from that from the flocking. We're going to cut off the excess here. So then we're going to put those happy clouds on there. My husband was excited that I used the happy clouds, which is one of the items that I hadn't used yet. He's used them on a card he made for me. If you've seen that video, I'll try to remember to link it up in the iCards, but at least I think he made that one on screen. Anyway, if that's one of the videos he made, I will be sure to link that up in the iCards. But anyway, he's used them, but I have not used them. So that is one of the dies that I have not used in my stash. So we're just going to attach those onto my card. And then off screen, I did attach this whole card front to a black mat like I usually do. I think the colors really pop off of a black mat, so I like to do that. And then I attach the whole card to a white 4x9" slimline card base. That is my preferred size of card base for a slimline. And then, forgot about the sentiment. So part of the Magical Mushrooms stamp set does have a sentiment that says "Have a Magical Day." So I got a little banner out of my stash, which is also another thing that I have not used. So I'm going to stamp the "Have a Magical" part of that sentiment onto that banner. I just covered the day part with a piece of tape, and then you just take that piece of tape off before you stamp it. And I stamped that in VersaFine Clair Nocturne, and then we're just going to glue that to the grass part of my card. And then this birthday sentiment, I cut in white cardstock and stacked that up, I believe 3 times. And that is part of a Pinkfresh Studio die set, another unused item in my stash, and that is from the Phrase Builder Happy Dies. And there's a happy part that goes with that, obviously, but it wasn't big enough, or my card wasn't big enough to fit them both going this direction. So that's why I chose to use the "Have a Magical" and then put the birthday part there. And that is the 8th and final thing that I have not used or have not given enough attention to for part of this video. And then I am using some black Nuvo drops for the eyes on the cloud. And they do have little smiley faces too. I'm not sure if that's visible, but they are visible in real life. I'm not sure if that's visible on this video though. So to finish up the card, I did grab my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen and added some shimmer to the mushrooms and the clouds and the mountaintops and all the things, because you can never have too much sparkle on a gnome card. I'm going to give you a close-up look here, and then I'm going to show you some final pictures and a final side-by-side of Renee's card and my card, just to show you what the two look like, and hopefully I did her card justice. Don't forget to go see her video, and the link will be in the description box below. And as always, have a great day.